Hello students, in the previous period we have learned what is meant by environment, what is ecosystem and the relationship between environment and the ecosystem. We studied that several abiotic and biotic factors affect environment and thereby the human as well as living being life. Now let us study the next important point, that is environmental conservation. In the previous period, we studied that the environment that is affected by several factors and it is our duty to conserve it. We also discussed the Geo Jivasya Jivanam. Now, environmental conservation is how it is achieved. Let us study. First, let us talk about certain questions related to it. That is, which factors affect and how? Which factors affect environment? We know various biological factors, various physical and various chemical factors, they affect environment. Suppose we can consider the physical factors are air, soil, water, then the chemical, various types of minerals, manures, then the biological factors means plants, animals, microorganisms, and so on. Now, in what way, how? It is the different way in which these factors affect. If there is a air which is polluted, when naturally the life of human being that affects. We know the water pollution, that is also one of the harmful pollution, and we have to discuss it later on in detail. Still, we should understand that various biological, or we can say as a biotic factors and abiotic factors collectively affects environment. Next question is, what will happen if consumers increase? If the consumers, we know that this environment is affected by several activities such as urbanization, industrialization, population explosion. If the consumers are increased, naturally there is a short of natural resources. If the day by day the population increases or consumers increases, then there is always depletion of the sources. A time will come when all these sources get exhausted and we have the crisis of that. So if the consumers are increased, then naturally resources will fall short. Next, how river is affected with nearby industries. It is considered that if industrialization is carried out on the bank of river, what will happen? You know that there are several harmful chemicals which are produced in the industries if they are not treated properly. It is the legislation that each and every industry that should treat its sewage and thereafter it is thrown into the rivers. But not all of industries obey that, and if they are treated, if they are not properly treated and if they are thrown in the river, then naturally the river will get polluted. Not only water, but there are some aquatic animals. That aquatic life is also collectively damaged and are affected. So each and every good step to conserve the environment is needed and it should be practically followed. Next important, there are factors affecting environment. We have learned as factors as biotic factor, abiotic factor, artificial, natural, all these. Again, let us discuss in detail. If factors affecting environment, they are categorized and natural factors and man-made factors. Then we know that certain natural factors are there that factor influence man's human or living beings affect life very badly, and out of which are earthquake, volcanoes, then wildfires are there, tsunamis, cyclones. These are the factors which are natural factors and which are most of the times out of our control. But if proper care is taken, then we can minimize its harm. So there are certain alarming signals which are given before all these natural calamities. They should be read and practically uh, changed uh, accordingly. So it is very important to read the alarming signal and behave accordingly so as we can minimize the life loss also and also materialistic loss. So earthquake, volcano, wildfire, tsunami, cyclones. There are several types of floods are there. Many times the high tides are there. There are so many natural calamities we can call or natural factors. Next important that is man-made factors. As we discussed yesterday that there is a population explosion. Day by day population is increasing and naturally the consumers or the factors consuming all these resources are thereby increasing. And so we have to get change in certain way. Environment we uh, change and we are in insisting all these things to get it in a proper way so as this earth can be considered as a better place to live. But ultimately, if industrialization, if development occur, then here the resources are used, they become short. And so it is very important to conserve instead of exploiting it. We should use it very uh, judiciously as well as we should consider all these harms and the further crisis. Suppose deforestation is there. For urbanization, we have the clearings of the forest, and that is also one of the important reasons which affects the environment. Industrialization, there are very few jungles or forests remain, which are dense ones. Industrialization is there. The industrialization and urbanization both are important for the development, but it it consumes a lot of resources. So industrialization, urbanization. We know that uh, Gandhiji used to say, "खेड्याकडे चला." Means all people they are making crowds in the urban or in the metropolitan cities. So we should move and we should minimize the urbanization. Next, that is building and construction. Building and construction also one of the important reasons that directly affect the environment. Cement, then sand, the usage of all these materials. Next, population explosion. We have already discussed that population explosion is the root cause of every problem. So we must aware of this fact and we must educate the people so as there will be the limited population and we can live happily. Then as indiscriminate usage of resources. Yesterday we discussed that some people are using a lot of resources. So there should be some balance in using all these resources. These are two important factors. man-made factor and the natural factor. As I told earlier, it is very difficult to control the natural factors, but man-made factors that we can control, that we can minimize their hazards, we can use some preventive measures, we can even use certain post measures where we can minimize or we can manage that harms or hazards. Next important thing, that is the what is mean by the pollution or environmental pollution. We know all the time we are discussing about several pollutions. Contamination in any way, in any material, that we call as pollution. And we know that this pollution is brought with the several activities, and these activities lead to the pollution. When we call the environmental pollution, we mean that there are some unnecessary and undesirable changes that occur in the environment. There may be in the physical way, chemical way, or biological way. Unnecessary things which are not needed, which are not welcome, these changes we call as the pollution. And we should know that the pollution or the pollutants that are different one in different situation. Means you can consider a particular thing as a very good and essential for the particular ecosystem. It becomes the pollutant in another way. For example, you can consider the water hyacinth. Water hyacinth is the plant which is very useful in minimizing the pollution. And so in the lakes particularly, water hyacinth is planted, it is cultivated. But what happens that if water hyacinth increases in a large way, then what will happen that it affects the aquatic life. It does not allow the another plants to grow there. So in one case, water hyacinth is a good one. In another, it is a pollutant. So undesirable and unnecessary changes in surrounding environment due to the natural events or human activities. There are again two important factors. In a natural way, also it occurs. Pollution that occurs in a natural way. Suppose soil erosion is there, volcano is there, earthquake is there, then it happens that certain pollution level that rises at a certain level. But human activities, mainly the pollution that our human activities are contributing all these pollution. So it is most of our activities that we perform in a bad way or in extra or in a surplus amount where it leads to the pollution. So once again, unnecessary, unacceptable change in surrounding environment due to natural events or human activities is called environmental pollution. Next, another concept of the same is a direct or indirect change in physical, chemical, or biological properties of air, water, soil, which will be harmful to human or any other living being. Means the change occurs. Sometimes it is a direct one or sometimes it is indirect one in a physical, chemical, and the biological process. Now let us study how it occurs. Suppose you consider that the air is full of certain harmful bacteria or sori, then some people get allergy with that. Means the sori which are allergic one for human being, if they are spread up, then what happens that the quality or the property of air which is biologically changed. This biological change is harmful for particular population or human beings. Then we know in a physical way also changes. If the temperature is changed, naturally the crops will get dry, and several reasons are there. So it may be sometimes direct change, sometimes indirect change that occurs in a physical, chemical, or biological properties. It makes the change in all these properties, and thereby the vegetation or human beings or any life that is affected. And so we must take care that these properties should not change due to our activities. We should not be the reason of pollution. We must control all these activities. Example, we know that the increasing population as well as increasing traveling, that the level of CO2, carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide increases by various unmaintained vehicles. So it is one of the examples. Next important that we know that all these changes, if they are undesirable, unnecessary, then it is going to lead the pollution. And so pollution is a very broad concept. We do not know how we are polluting the environment, but a simple dates. If we do all these works, all these deeds in a very casual manner, we are not aware that how it is going to affect the environment. We know we use plastic. We always suggest that don't use the plastic or polythene because it is indegradable and we use it. If you want to get rid of that, we collect it and burn. And then a very harmful gas, phosphine, that comes out, and it is inhaled, and due to that, again respiratory problems they increase. So with very short all that we do in a very great level, we are making all these pollutants and all this type of pollution. So when we do anything, please stop, think over that whether I'm going to contribute all these pollution or I'm saving myself as well as Mother Earth from all these pollution. So it is very important to conserve the environment, and it is not one's responsibility, it is collective responsibility. So we must first aware of this fact, we must educate people, and we must practice it. Without practice, it is useless. We know all of these things, but we do not practice in our day-to-day life. So we must conserve the environment in all sense, physical, chemical, biological properties of air, water, soil, that should be conserved. We know about the soil also. To get the multiple or ample amount of food material, we use chemical fertilizers, and the salinity of that soil increases. Thereby, we are making the soil polluted. Water also, we know water bodies that are not protected one. We use that water for making various activities for washing clothing and of many other usage, and we are polluting that water by swimming in the lakes. That is also one of the reasons. So air, water and soil, these are the basic necessities of our life, and we must protect all these resources. We must conserve all these resources, and if we conserve it, then only we are going to live happy life. Otherwise, there is development, but if you are not well, if you are not enjoying the healthy life, then where this development is going to lead you? So that is very important question. And we must practice, we must educate, and we must tell others, understand and tell others. That is the important thing. So this is all about the conservation of environment.